He is going to drop the throw. Fires deep along the right sideline for Alec Pierce.
He's got it. Touchdown! Touchdown! Alec Pierce spikes it into the end zone. Touchdown! I-N-D-Y. A 32-yard grab over the shoulder snag.
Don't let nobody tell you who you are. I remember sleeping, wishing on a shooting star. After practice overnight, cleaning, working hard, coming up short, hoping one day I'd go far. I was young, dumb, broken, I was still naive. I had failed so many times, but I still believed that I would turn into that man everyone could see. Wouldn't never let nobody tell him what he could achieve. I stayed focused, walked right on my path. Told my mom I was leaving and I couldn't come back. Hopped out my feelings, quit my job, graduated and laughed. And went to Cali straight broken, hopped right in my bag. Now I'm standing here speaking, giving all I am. Trying to show you that the change starts with one man. I ain't lying cause I did, so I know you can. So I'm here to help the world understand that this is motivation. For every single chance you ain't taking, any rule that's in your way, you better break it. Shut up, embrace it. The pain is a prerequisite. Without it, how the fuck you think you ever gon' make it? The sweat is your payment. Fucking escalator, take the stairs to the top, right from the fucking basement. Your life is a statement. Leave a legacy and stop waiting. Get your ass up today and start chasing. It's that motivation. I'm hoping that this hits your soul. They're just dreams till you sit down and you write your goals. I remember when they said I wasn't built this strong. I bounced back like elastic and put myself on. Now I'm selling out these tickets to places I don't know. Going to these places they said that I couldn't go. Giving all my time to people at these shows to spread this message and this music that I know brings hope. They feel it. I don't gotta top a stupid chart or win a Grammy just to show that I'm the realest. I don't need a cosign from nobody if they ain't said nothing by now. They pretending not to see it. Any odd I beat it. Negativity deleted. I don't care about success, it's the journey I'm feeding. If I say it, I mean it. Flow dirty, can't clean it. Give a fuck about the past, cause I RIP'd it. Now I'm about to fucking hit the top. You fucking people can't cancel me. Put me in the box of fucking drive me to insanity. I'm already crazy. 1/4 of me is all of you. So half of me is 2 of you, and 4 of you is all of me. You'll need a whole army if you thinking about stopping me. In 5 lifetimes if you thinking you can copy me. I beat in poverty, went to war and beat mediocrity. My life is mine, I'm molding that shit like I'm doing pottery. I'm not scared of failure, I embrace it and chase it. If there's a 1% chance I could do it, I take it. I took the hate they all threw, sat down and I ate it. Then took the motivation from it, turned to one of the greatest. And now, every time I drop, I know I'm making a statement. Replacing every single person that you got on your playlist. I'm not a product of the system, that's why no one can break it. I'm trying to change the whole game, man. Fuck being famous, dog. I'm self-proclaimed and I ain't never changed. I rock the same clothes and still got the same chain. It's a reminder when I hooped and I would go and get my jersey and those people didn't even know my name. Well, now I know you see it. They told me leave, I made a promise they would all feel it. I couldn't find the change, so I said obvious. So I hope that y'all know this is Dak's fucking self-proclaimed focus. This is motivation. For every single chance you ain't taking, any rule that's in your way, you better break it. Shut up, embrace it. The pain is a prerequisite. Without it, how the fuck you think you ever gon' make it? The sweat is your payment. Fucking escalator, take the stairs to the top, right from the fucking basement. Your life is a statement. Leave a legacy and stop waiting. Get your ass up today and start chasing. It's that motivation. It's that motivation. It's that motivation.
Oh, what's up, D?
What's up? It's that motivation.
It's that motivation. You ever heard of him?
Nah, I have not. That was the first time I heard him.
That's Dax, man. I love that dude, bro. I listen to him in the gym.
There you go.
But all right, everybody, we are here finally live after being late about 25, 30 minutes. We had some things going on, and then we had some technical difficulties happening, so we had to keep pushing the time back. We apologize for that. We try not to have that type of stuff happen, but sometimes things don't always go as planned. So here we are.
I tried to get in early for y'all, and then my laptop went and crapped out on me, so I got to reset this right now. But made it in on the old school way, got the phone going.
Yes, sir. Today it is just me and D. Everybody else has some stuff going on. Trev is graduating from basic leader course in the Army, so he's out partying. And then Damon had something come up, and then Zach is working, so it's us two. Last week we took the weekend off. We decided we were going to spend time with our families for the spooky weekend of Halloween, which we hope everybody had a good one. And then we got some games we got to talk about. A whole lot of news to discuss tonight. It's going to be like beating a dead horse, but I think me and D have some different thoughts on things that had occurred throughout the last couple weeks that most of these Indianapolis reporters don't like to touch base on. So first, let's go ahead and talk about Washington, the way that game went down. D, what are your first thoughts about that game?
My first thought about that game is we let another one slip, man. I honestly it's one of those things where like over the last few years I've been a huge apologist with almost everything Indianapolis wise, whether it be Frank Wright, um, just giving him multiple breaks on just decision making, decisions whether to go for it in the wrong situation or whether not, play calls, things like that, and then whether it be the defense where we'd have strong defensive games where our defense would just play lights out, um, and then sometimes they just do what they did this past week and give up 10 crucial points that when we need them to get a stop and they just can't get it. Or whether it be the offense right now, just looking anemic. So, um, just another one of those weeks where we just can't put it together against a team where we had a really good shot to go ahead and get a win and shut up some people. So I just thought it was a huge missed opportunity.
That game was the epitome of our season. To be
I
completely honest, I think
absolutely,
every issue we've ran into this season had came out in that game, and it just kind of shows the definition of what it's been, right? Statistically, even in Washington, when we played Washington, this was the same thing. We averaged 6.1 yard or 6.1 to 6.6 yards per play in
that,
our own territory. The moment we get into opposing territory, we average, 3.1 to 3.3, and that's unacceptable. The fact that once we get across the 50, we forget how to move the ball.
that's the epitome of what Frank Wright has done since he's pretty much been in Indy. I will put up a chunk of yardage at times, and usually it's when we get to the red zone we start to stumble. But this year it's just been in enemy territory where we just slack off. I guess I don't know how to put it in the terms of whatever he's got going on or whatever play calling was, or whatever play issues were. But that brings us to the situation of them firing Marcus Brady, and how does that fix the situation?
Yeah, that that's a confusing situation with him with fire Marcus Brady, and the reason I think it's confusing is because most teams who fire their offensive coordinator, it's because the offensive coordinator is calling plays, he has full control of the offense, and the head coach is just overseeing things. But
Exactly.
when Frank was answering these questions all week, all he was saying was that uh, Marcus only really controlled the meetings. That's all he
Yeah.
really did, was he was just in control of the meetings, and Frank ran everything else. So
Yeah, I think that was me and your initial conversation to it was when we were talking in the group. Is I was saying I was thinking Marcus was being scapegoated, and you were like, "No, I don't think so." And I was like, "Well, listening to the presser, I'm like, he didn't really have an answer for it. It
yeah,
was just kind of like we're all responsible." Well, I'm like, well, if we're all responsible here, you don't fire somebody if you guys are all taking the same blame. So that didn't make any sense to me. It just didn't sound right. So the fact that he was let go, just like you said, you would think a guy would be the play caller and whatnot. And so that's been the tough part for me this season. Usually I can kind of put some pieces together as to what we're doing or what's going on with our season, with our year, or what the staff is maybe thinking in the situation. But this year has been the most questioning, and I think Greg Doyle probably put it best when he said that Sam Ellinger went from a guy that was on the practice squad.
yeah,
4 weeks later, he's our third string QB. Then within a 2 week span, goes from third string to starter, and said it doesn't really seem like you guys know what you're doing. And it's kind of getting there to that point where it's like I don't think they really know what they're doing at quarterback, and I think that's been the biggest thing since Andrew Luck has retired. Chris Ballard and Frank Wright have just been overwhelmed with the whole quarterback situation, and it's really starting to show. And I think they just don't know what to do anymore at this point.
yeah. It hasn't really made sense because like we've talked about it a couple times before that we've missed out on quarterbacks in multiple
Absolutely.
drafts. We've missed out. I mean, we've gone after older quarterbacks. I mean, when Andrew Luck retired, I gave Frank Reich that pass, right? Because we had Jacoby Brissett starting, and we still, I believe, well, we went
We
8-9.
started 5-2,
Yeah,
and finished 7-9.
something like that. Yeah, and that's not bad for having Jacoby Brissett and your quarterback, retiring 3 weeks before the season starts. So that year, I still gave Frank, a pass, and then we got Philip Rivers, which was ultimately the Frank Reich project. He wanted to bring in a guy that he was familiar with to
The
see what
start,
he
the
could
start
do.
of the start of the Frank Wright projects.
Right.
The start of it.
And it just that season went pretty okay. I guess it wasn't great, but the play calling was definitely questionable throughout that whole season. And that season, you can even go back in the group for the shoe, and you can see me literally posting in 2020 like, "Hey, can we fire Frank now?" Like, been calling it since then. And then, but that season, the season before Philip Rivers was the off season to fix the quarterback position.
Absolutely agree there.
But I get it. We got DeForest Buckner. We traded the 13th pick for DeForest Buckner that year,
Mm-hmm.
which is awesome. But at the same time, it's like, okay, we still haven't fixed the most important position. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, and see, and that right there is where it brings us to the conversation of when I started actually thinking of it. Because from 2018, starting 1-5 and then bouncing back, I was like, okay, cool, we're good. Get to 2019, start 5-2, and Jacoby was actually playing like, I don't necessarily want to say pretty well, but he was a good game manager until the injury. Once the injury happened, a new injury against the Pittsburgh Steelers, it kind of went downhill from there. And then we bring in Rivers, and I was one of the people who wasn't high on Rivers. Unfortunately, he was the best person that we brought in since, but I was not high on him before the season started. I figured he'd be better. Just looking at the stats, if you look at all the stats of quarterbacks that Frank Wright has had, go you guys, go close the game. The quarterbacks that Frank Wright has had, whether it be Andrew Luck, Jacoby Brissett, Carson Wentz, Philip Rivers, Matt Ryan, all their stats have pretty much gotten better from the year before to the year with Frank. So I figured that, okay, well, this could probably work. But at the same time, it's like, well, you can't just keep patching over this guy. And once Philip Rivers decided he was going to retire, that should have been the beginning for the Indianapolis Colts to say, we need to find our guy. And that brings us to Sam Ehlinger, who I, by all means, would love to see him succeed. But for me, personally, just all the quarterbacks that we've went through and that we've watched over the years now, I want him to be the guy if he's going to come out and he's going to look like the Justin Herbert that we saw. Like, I want a guy that's truly going to be 300-yard passer, multiple touchdowns. Like, I know it's a lot of expectations to put on a 6th-round pick, but I'm not really trying to be sold on a guy that we haven't drafted in the 1st-round pick if I have to be sold on him, unless he's going to absolutely be a guy. And that's just where I am right now with our quarterback situation, because it has to get fixed.
I agree 100%. And with Sam, developing, which is good. I don't think we're going to see that type of Justin Herbert. I think we're going to have some frustration across the board, and I don't think it's anything against Sam. I think what it is against is it's against Frank, because Frank is on these kind of like how Michael Pittman and all them said it. You have to trust us. Go ahead and trust your receivers. Let Sam sling it. I knew he can sling it. Sling it. I'm hoping that so the read option and the mobility of Sam, that Frank saw multiple times that Sam should have kept the ball last week.
Yeah.
Kind of went over that film with him, was like, hey, when you see this, keep it, tuck it, man. Don't be afraid to tuck it and run. Because I think there was about 4 or 5 times where they ran a read option last week, and Sam, I just think he handed it off to be safe.
Yeah, I think that's also that's a couple things playing quarterback position. That's familiarity, that's coaching, that's comfortability, and then it's also the safe position. So when you run that read option, what they always teach you as a quarterback when you're running that read option is if you don't know what to do, the safest thing is to hand it off to the running back every single time. So I think that's a lot of things that come down to it. That's why I really appreciate what Sam did last week as far as his completion percentage, his big throw ability, deep throw ability, his decision making. I thought in that game was pretty damn flawless for a guy who pretty much hasn't played in 2 years. I really like the things that he did. I like what I seen, what I saw from him. So I think that was that. And then there was some plays that he missed. I don't know if you've seen the either the Lawrence Owen film breakdown or broke it down on your own. Yeah, I know you have watched some of it, but if you've seen some of them, some of the deep throws that he missed, like the almost interception to Michael Pittman Jr., Alec Pierce was coming open on a inside deep route. So just some plays that he can get better on. But I did like what I seen from him, and I just think it's going to come down to Frank letting him open it up. Like I feel like we cannot like pull the reins on this guy. So it's almost like what we did with Jacob Eason and Sam Ellinger. The whole time, like if you look at any other team, if they got to go through their first, second, third, fourth string quarterback, they're going to be like, okay, yeah, we're starting this guy this week because he's there. Frank Wright being a former quarterback, he wants to, oh yeah, we're going to protect this guy. So he doesn't want to let him open it up and play. That's what we need to do for Sam. Let him open it up and play. He's going to make mistakes. This guy hasn't played. He's pretty much a rookie. We got to let him go out and play and experience and learn to see what he can truly offer to us, to find out if he's going to be our guy or not. But I will say, like, I mean, outside of the fumble, I pretty much liked everything he did. I'd like to see him take a huge step to show us that he could be the guy. Tough week this week against New England to me as well.
What I don't like about last week is what Frank did when it came to talking about mobility a whole week prior leading up and starting the game off in a Matt Ryan scheme. I mean, keeping him in the pocket, not utilizing him properly. I think it took him the whole till like the third quarter to start moving him around. I think he maybe moved the pocket once in the first half, maybe twice.
Yeah.
And then he started getting flashy. And then when he started getting flashy with his play calls and it started working, eventually he stopped. Confusing to me. Why did you stop? That was the one that led to, I believe it was the JT fumble. They were doing jet sweeps and Paris Campbell was running down the field. Then they were doing screens and Paris Campbell was still running down the field. You know what I mean? Like, and then they got down the field and they just stopped. They started running that cookie cutter stuff and JT just fumbled it.
Totally agree. Yeah, just like you said, if I was gonna test somebody out and whatnot and see how it went that way, the first thing I would have did is I would have ran the guy out in on a quarterback sneak. Just ran him out there and see what he could have done. That's what I personally would have did. Okay.
Still fixing that up, huh?
Yeah, actually got to work.
Kate, so from what I'm tracking is Frank is going to take the majority of the offense, but Scotty is going to be kind of like the OC.
Matt, you think you can let me in again?
Oh, you switched. Okay. Getting so confused. There's two of you in here. There you go.
There we go. All right, perfect.
All right.
So yeah, Kate, so as far as we know, Frank has been calling everything already. But supposedly what he's going to do now is he's going for a Marcus Brady organizing the offense, getting the O-line coaches and everybody else ready. He's supposed to switch that over now to our running back coach, Scotty Montgomery, to get that all in order now.
So from what I'm understanding is Frank was always included in all the meetings that had involved all the game planning, all that stuff. And he was the one who was responsible for the first 15 plays. So all those terrible starts and slow starts, those were on Frank. They were not on Marcus Brady. So it made
That's
me
the funniest part.
yeah, that's the part that made me laugh when I heard him say that in the meeting, and I'm like, okay, Greg Doyle, please, Greg Doyle, say something, because as much as we've hated Greg Doyle in the past, this man is the only one who's calling him out. Stephen Holder sitting here making excuses. Zach Kiefer's making excuses. All these other guys, Matt Taylor. I like Matt Taylor. He's the voice of the Colts. He's not a uh, reporter per se. He's just the voice of the Colts. But that
He's
guy,
just the guy that hates losing.
right. And then you got Rick Venturi, which is actually, if you listen to him when he talks, he's calling Frank out the majority of the time. I wish Rick Venturi was our head coach right now, because that man would have us probably sitting at 8-0.
He at least have us prepared.
Yeah, facts. But the idea that, hey, we're gonna fire a guy who probably only focuses on the adjustments at halftime,
Yeah.
when after the first half is when we do the best.
So the funny thing is just like how you said, the first 15 plays, right? So if you think about it, I want to say at least six to seven out of most of our games that we played this year, our first three drives were either close to pretty much a 3 and out or like two 3 and outs and a first down. Like those
Yes,
are literally all the Frank Wright plays. So
literally.
that brings us back to the Frank Wright situation, and that's why I was telling you when you told me that like maybe Frank might be able to get us right, and even Zach started maybe having a little bit of hope that Frank can fix this thing, and I was just like, please don't start giving Frank hope anymore, just because like it's like I've had it with the whole slow start situation where it's always, oh yeah, we're gonna get this together, we're gonna get this right, or we're gonna fix it. We didn't want to start slow, but we start slow every year. So
Yeah,
it's like,
that's
when are
true.
we gonna get to the point where we're gonna finally just be like, you know what, Frank, it's you.
You
You
know,
are
you
the
know,
problem.
I I'm not saying he's not the problem, because I've been saying he's the problem. But the other problem is Jim Irsay, right? Because Jim Irsay is not going to fire head coach mid-season, because Jim Irsay doesn't like to tank. He
And
doesn't like to lose out. You know what I'm saying? So he's
I
that
can
guy
understand.
that's like, I'm going to try to do whatever I can to salvage this team, to salvage this season. And it started with benching Matt Ryan. Then it came to Marcus Brady. So let's say we lose tomorrow. What's next? Who's next? Like, who are you going to fire? You're not going to fire Frank. You're not going to fire Chris. The two
That's
who
gonna
are
be like hell
responsible
of
for
a
this position.
hell of a week of practice. Um, Miss some things. We're
Missing
gonna we're gonna
things.
watch this tape, and we're gonna learn to get better. We were out coached and we were outplayed today,
But
and
we're heading in the right direction.
yeah, but we saw some things that we can build on. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying, man. It's an every week continuous thing of the same crap, the
You've seen
same Frank
you've
Wright
s-
crap with this era.
he's been seeing things that we can build on since 2019. Like,
Yeah,
he's still in 2019. That guy, it's like he doesn't work, like he's on COVID still.
I
Like
don't
he's
even
in
know if it's
quarantine.
20. I don't even know if it's 2019 because we had a pretty good start to that year. I'd say 2018.
We did.
He's still expecting our quarterback
To carry.
to turn into
To
Andrew
carry.
Luck. Ashley, thank you. Yeah, they're not supposed to be in here, but my kids just wanna be with daddy.
Mine are too tonight. It's one of those
But
nights.
yeah, but yeah, it's just been this continuous thing with the Frank Wright era where I'm guessing he's expecting a quarterback to turn into something else. It's just tough to say. But it also brings me to I hate to talk about another team or another coach, but hey, wait. Um, but there was a clip. I don't know if you've seen it yet, but it's pretty much been circulating since the Miami Dolphins played. They had, I want to say, it was back to back offsides penalties on defense, and
Is that this year?
yeah, that was this year. And the coach for the Miami Dolphins, I'm blanking on his name right now,
Um, McDaniels.
Mike McDaniels, and he turns to his defensive coach and he says, "Hey, what's going on?" And the coach says something else back to him, and he says, "You better fix that shit." Like that's what he turns to his coach and says. And when he says that, it just bumped into my head, and I'm like, dude, that is a fucking head coach you want. You want a
I,
guy that's gonna hold people accountable and say, "Hey, Get your stuff fixed, dude, and let's go.
You know what? It's funny too because I like Mike McDaniels. A lot of people make fun of him because he gives you some weird answers. He
He
does all this
does. He
weird stuff.
absolutely does.
But the team had always said that they play for him. Like it's one of those things where Mike McDaniels will tell you straight up, like, I don't know anything about the injuries. I'm not a doctor. Like I'll tell you when the doctors tell me. I have nothing to say about that. Um,
Exactly.
but yeah, he holds accountable. Like if you look at any head coaches that are successful in the NFL, they're always holding people accountable. You have, Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick was always holding coaches accountable. Uh, he was always making his offense and defensive coordinators, he was making those guys better. So, like, if you have a guy like Bill who's making his coordinators better rather than the coordinators making you better as a head coach, that's where the success comes in. Accountability is important. And Frank, even after firing Marcus, right? He doesn't want to tell us why. He's not saying a reason, so he's not giving accountability. He never does that. He just kind of, well, Marcus is a great guy. He did this, and this, and he's gonna go do this, and this. And that's not what we want to hear. We want to hear why. Why did
Exactly.
you fire Marcus? What did Marcus do wrong that you weren't ahead of, that you weren't overseeing every day?
Exactly. And I hate to be like Zach Kiefer, so I apologize to everybody who's watching, but this is kind of like my little replay of the conversation. The question was asked by Greg Doyle, was Marcus scapegoated? And Frank Wright says, not exactly word for word. I apologize, everybody, because I should have had the
It's
exact
right here.
words, but it was
He said that
he
he
said
he got fired as an OC, and then he went on to
that
win a Super Bowl
everybody
as an OC. Like it's
yeah, he wanted to basically give some little pity shit about like maybe this is why that he didn't work
he
out
didn't
or
he didn't
whatever.
fit in the team. Sometimes you just don't
He,
fit in the
and
team.
yeah,
Some shit
exactly.
like that he said on the
And
round
that
table.
he was not being scapegoated and that
Yeah.
everybody had a hand in it. And so to me, if I'm thinking to myself as a manager, GM, of just of anything, if I feel like everybody had a hand in something that we all have seen as an issue, I'm not just gonna point at one guy and say, "Hey, you're out," because maybe it's you.
Yeah, no.
That's
See,
that's accountability. Just like Trev said here in the comments, accountability is being terrible right now in our organization. And honestly, this goes all the way back to numero uno at the top, Jim Irsay, for the same reason that as much as Carson Wentz like was crazy erratic last year, he put it all on Carson Wentz as the blame and kicked him out, and it
bro,
was not only his fault.
they did it
Like
to
this is
Jacoby. They did it to Jacoby. When Jacoby went 5-2, he ended up getting hurt. We couldn't figure out how to use him because where he was hurt took away, one of his strengths, his ability to throw properly, right? Because from what I'm tracking, it was a lower leg.
mhm.
And if you can't pivot or turn on that lower leg properly, you're not going to throw an accurate football. Carson Wentz showed that last season when he had the 2 ankle sprains. You can't throw right. Everything is within your footwork.
Yeah, I honestly feel a little bit different about Jacoby just because I like Jacoby as a backup. I like him as a player. I like him as a person, but I did not see him as a guy. So that's why I kind of understood the situation there. It's just more so with Carson. Like if you've seen our season as a whole, like everybody saw us. We were 9-5. Um, we were literally pretty much had the NFL scared to face us in the playoffs, and not just Carson, but our entire team
The
broke
entire
down.
team. The
The
entire
entire
team.
team broke down, and Jim
I
Irsay just said, "Hey, get
It
Carson
was
out of here."
Carson. 100%.
So, so to me,
100%. Just because
that's just like how Chris Ballard and Frank Wright are taking everything in this locker room
yes,
as let's blame somebody instead of
except for
holding all of
ourselves.
us exactly
Except
instead
for
of holding
ourselves.
all of us
Because
accountable.
because here's the thing, right? If you look at those last 2 games against the Raiders and Jacksonville, we should have never let up those points.
Exactly.
We
Darius
never
Leonard
should have
missed a
let up
sack.
those points.
Kenny Moore missed a let Henry Renfro get wide open.
Facts.
And I mean,
We had we had
we just
zero
pretty much
pass rush. Zero pass rush.
for the
Our
last
pass
3
rush
weeks.
the pass rush last year was sketchy the whole season.
Exactly.
The whole season.
If we had this pass rush
Facts.
last year, we'd look a lot better.
Facts.
So,
Facts. I agree. I agree. I don't think I never blamed Carson Wentz. I mean, I know that you and I had discussions during the offseason where I had seen things. We'd all seen things. Me and Adrian used to talk a lot during the offseason.
Yeah,
And we saw things that Carson could have improved on, but we also talked about things that the whole goddamn team could have improved on. And
exactly.
if Chris and Frank would have just done their jobs, Carson might not be injured over in Washington. He might be over here
And
starting, and we might be, better than 3-4-1. I'm
I
not
think
saying we'd
Carson
be
would have.
I'm not saying we'd be 8-0. I'm saying we might be, you know, above 500
Yeah,
because Carson,
we'd be 5-2 or something like that. Like I think Carson
yeah.
would be a lot better with these weapons. We got a statement or a question here from Ashley. Here she asks, "Why is everyone worried about our running backs without JT? We have DJ, Lindsey, Wilkins, and maybe Moss if
Let me
active."
answer this one
Um,
because
yeah, go ahead.
I said this a few weeks ago when we went to play Denver on a
We
Thursday
both
night.
did. Yep.
And then we went and we played who else did we played somebody else without JT, didn't we?
Um,
Jacksonville?
yeah,
Because
Jacksonville.
DJ went off in that game too. So both those games, I remember when somebody said because Jonathan Taylor wasn't ruled out before the JT or before the Jacksonville game. The Denver game was when DJ and Phillip showed that they can do it, right? They could take the load if they needed to, and they performed better than JT had all season. And at that point, I was like, I'm not really worried about our running backs. Even though, we won that game by kicking field goals, I still wasn't worried.
Yeah,
Um,
the
they both
same thing
they
here.
both had over 100 yards or they not both of them individually, but combined had over 100 yards rushing. So I was okay with that. Um,
Yep, Ashley, I totally agree there with Matt. I mean, like we said in the Denver game, I do not see running back as an issue for this team. I
no.
do not look at the depth. I do not look at the pieces. I do not look at them and say, like, if there was a draft tomorrow and people were sitting here worried about running backs and they say, would we take a running back? I would tell you absolutely not. So it's one of the least position worries about we're worried about on this team.
Even
If
even with
anybody
Hines
out there,
gone, even
yeah,
with
even
Hines
with
gone, I'm
Hines
still
gone,
not worried about it.
even with
Bringing
Hines
Wilkins
gone,
back is huge in my opinion.
exactly. And I think that Paris Campbell being healthy totally can take over the Hines role because as much as I do love Hines and how effective he is, we were barely using him. So I feel like we should get Campbell more involved, and we got some guys. Frank even said that we got some guys that can take over that role. So anybody who's worried about running back is worried about the wrong situation. They're pretty much Jim Irsay if they're worried about running backs right now.
So my thing is with Wilkins, right? I like that, we Wilkins is here on my screen and a few years
Oh, actually,
ago
you know what? That's a good one to talk about.
a few years ago, when Hines, I believe it was the Philip Rivers season,
Yep,
Hines was the
against
backup, and
Tennessee.
yeah, well, I mean, he had multiple good games, but he was doing flips and all different types of stuff. But Wilkins and Hines both were kind of the same, right? Wilkins was able to break off big ones. Hines was doing, his thing, um, and JT was doing his. But what I thought was that we were going to trade Hines back then. I didn't think we were going to trade Hines now,
Hmm.
right? Because we had built such a large value around Hines by showing his athleticism and his ability. Um, and then Wilkins had shown that he was a third down back. So at that time, I thought, okay, and Paris, we thought he was going to come back healthy and he was going to have another good year, all this stuff, right? Because he showed in that San Diego game or the LA game. I can't remember if they were in San Diego or LA that year. But when we played the Chargers week 1, Paris showed that he had flashes of being a stud. And then
Hmm.
he got hurt. Um, so I really thought when I thought about this process at the end of the season, I thought that we were going to trade Hines and Wilkins was going to step up as that running back too because of the fact that he was like that third down back to let JT take a rest. And he would still pound it. I remember watching Wilkins run the ball. And I remember watching him pound it. That dude looked small, but he was running people over. And then I just expected Paris to come back and be more of the role as to what you're talking about him doing this year.
Yeah. So I think a couple things for that is is our digression pretty much of offensive line. We've digressed. I mean, I don't know how many people are ready to admit it. I think you probably heard Rick Victory say it, but he pretty much was saying after I want to say about week 1 or week 2 that how this O line been getting their butt kicked. He said if I was in that meeting, I would tell him you're the most overrated unit in the league, and that's been the biggest difference in our running game. So just like Trev is saying here in the comments, every running back we have could potentially be a starter or a very solid number two. No need to worry about running backs. Just use them correctly. And I totally agree with the comment. Outside of the fact that not every offensive line is going to be that good. So that's the thing that people say about running backs, and this is why running backs are completely disposable now in the NFL. So when you get to the NFL level, a great offensive line is going to get you at least two more carries for no matter who's the running back in the backfield. An average offensive line is going to maybe get you to that 4 to 3 yard mark. And a terrible offensive line is going to get you to that 1 to -yard mark. And that's the difference between a great back and a good back who will then offset what that offensive line can do. And since every offensive line isn't great to be able to get you that 4 yard mark average per carry, that's what a great back is supposed to be able to do and be able to be the change. And that's been the biggest thing for our offensive line right now. So all of our backs could be stable if we get our offensive line fixed. And that's pretty much been the difference for this year, which has been the two biggest things that we did last year: running the ball and turnovers on defense. And our defense has been literally take out turnovers. They've been the best defense in the league, but that is the problem. We're not forcing turnovers, and that brings us to our defense.
This is why we have Shaq back. Shaq back in a rotational basis
I hate it.
still finds a way to force a turnover. Like, I mean, I get it. That ball was just kind of thrown up there, and he just kind of was
Hey,
able to
you
jump
got
up
to
and
make
grab it. But
plays.
he
You
still
got to
did it.
make plays. You
If it
got to
was
make
someone
plays.
else, nobody would have caught that ball.
You
Like
got to make plays.
that's just Shaq being Shaq. So I don't understand why that brings me to this point. I don't understand why Shaq is still on a rotation, why he's still on a pitch count. I mean, just let the man play, dude.
I hate the rotational stuff. Like they tried to do it with JT. I can't tell you how many times. Like we can probably put together a list that can show you JT's 100-yard games versus JT's 10 carry-yard games or 10 carry games. That is ridiculous to me. You do not give somebody that's supposed to be a great running back or somebody that you're going to pay over $10 million to 10 touches a game. It's just ridiculously insane to me, and I hate it. I hate these. I do not like the pitch count. Like if you're gonna do pitch count, do it with a receiver. Do it
Yeah.
with somebody who doesn't need a ton of plays. They just need to be on the field and get targeted. Like, do not do it with a linebacker, a safety, a corner, a defensive. Well, you could probably do it with a
You
defensive
should
lineman because
probably do it with a defensive
yeah,
lineman.
yeah, you just do it with a defensive lineman. But like, you can't do it with positions like offensive line and linebacker and running back because of the fact that any touch they get could potentially be that one that they need. So to me, it's like when you do it to a linebacker like Darius or Shaq Leonard, I'm sorry, um, it could be that interception. You put him on a pitch count, and he's not really getting into the rhythm. He don't get used to running full speed. Like if anybody in here is in the comments or Matt, you've played football, when you haven't been running every day, you're gonna come out and you're gonna feel heavy footed for the
Mhm.
first maybe 6 weeks. And just like with JT, like you give him 10 carries and he has 74 yards. What does that tell you? Give him the damn ball, Frank. Like Jesus Christ. Like it just makes no sense to me. So me, when I hear the pitch count, it's just the first thing that pops into my mind, especially with our running backs that we've already discussed. Play him fully or don't play him at all. We got other guys who are fully capable. And
Facts.
same thing with our
Facts.
linebacking core.
And that takes me to the 4th and inches at the end of the game last week. That ultimately led to us losing. How do you have a guy like JT? You have Deion Jackson. I mean, you can't sit here and tell me you didn't run a QB sneak because you didn't practice that shit with Sam Ellinger. Like that doesn't make sense.
Bro,
A quarterback knows how to just fall forward.
like
It's inches. It was 4th and inches. It wasn't even 4th and a yard. A
that's what I'm
quarterback knows how to fall forward.
like Matt, think about it this way: if you were ever a play caller in your life, and you were sitting here like, what are we gonna do on 4th and inches? If you
You're,
were a play caller, is your first not thought like maybe just have our quarterback fall over the line?
yeah, that's my first thought every time.
Like if
Or
you're
a
a play,
fullback.
like if you're a play caller, like if you ever thought to think like what would I do on this situation? Like it
I've been there. I've been a play caller.
Ashley's laughing at me. She says, "LOL, Demarco." I'm sorry, I'm getting animated because it just brings me back to the game, and like I'm yelling at my TV because I swear to you guys, like the Colts, like it's like where I'm at right now. I'm at the point where I'm like, okay, like I'm just pissed off about the season, but of course I'm gonna be a fan every single day.
every
But
day.
I literally get pissed off when I look at this offense because before we traded Hines, I look at this offense and I literally, I honestly couldn't tell you guys. I don't see anybody in the league with a running back like we have, a running back like we had with Hines, the receiving core, the big bodies, the tight ends that we have, every position that we have. I don't see how you can't come into the office and you can't just have unlimited plays. Like it should be. I got 60 plays for JT. I got 30 plays for Hines. I got 20 for each of our tight ends, whether it be Mo, Jelani, or Kylan. Like I got plays for just everybody. So it's just me personally. Like I've never called plays in my life, but I just look at this offense and I'm just like, geez, this is easier than Madden with the guys we got. I mean,
Yeah. 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 Especially with how each one can be used. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you look at it, you look at the way our receivers are. We have a short, a mid, and a deep. Just in
it,
our receivers, you got
oh
you
my
got
god,
you got Paris, who can be the short guy, but can also beat
go
you deep.
deep. Yep.
But he's usually used in the short where he gets the run after catch. Then you've got Michael Pittman, who's that medium guy who runs those medium ins, those medium outs, the corners, those medium posts, the shallows. And then you got Alec Pierce, who
Who
can
can
beat
do
you
it
deep,
all?
who can do it all. How
All.
are you not using these guys correctly?
How? How? It just brings me back to the Greg Doyle comment. Like it just makes me think you guys don't know what you're doing. Because
Jelani Woods, Mo Alley Cox. I mean,
I'm like, give us Sean McVay and watch what he can do with this offense, bro.
we have three tight ends that mimic what our receivers are doing. You got Jelani, who's always been that deep threat. You've got Mo, who's been that mid guy who can get the run after catch in the midway. Then you got Kylan Granson, who's a short catcher who can
And
take it.
and he has one of the best separation rates in the league. I mean, bro, this offense should be child's play to sit here and call plays for. And it's like, and then when you watch our team play on Sunday,
It's
everything just
upsetting.
looks difficult. It
It's
just
so
looks so
so
hard.
Bro, so I'm admit Saturday night I was sitting there thinking about what Sam Ellinger could do with these receivers, and I was
Jeez.
so hyped. I was like, "Oh, this dude's about to light it up." If I was a head coach and I had to start, a guy like Sam Ellinger, a guy who went from practice squad to starter in 6-7 weeks
I'd
of a
be like, I'm
season,
free. I'm take the handcuffs off.
yeah, I'd straight up be like, "All right, man, guess what? You're going to light it up tomorrow. You're our focal point. When we run the ball, it's to make it easier for you, right?
Exactly.
You're the guy tomorrow." Uh, and that's not what it looked like. What a Saturday, I thought that maybe Frank's gonna let Sam loose. I'm hearing mobility all week. I'm hearing this, that, and the other, and then I was just like, "Oh, cool. It looks like Matt Ryan's back there, but
You sat
younger."
him. You sat him like you were used to 37-year-old guys.
And yeah, I'm like, "Oh my god, man! Like, come on, let this man loose."
Man, yeah. So it's just been a real difficult thing. So let's move to the defensive side of the ball for a second here. Let me get your take on how you're feeling because, like I've said, we've been one of the top defenses in the league outside of the 24-0 game, which wasn't completely on the defense. Our defense has been really good. We've been great with getting pressures. And then um, we did pretty good outside of the last 10 points to end the game. How are you feeling? What are you looking at defensive wise? What are you thinking about that side of the ball?
So like we said, man, I think that the pass rush this year has been something we haven't seen in over a decade.
Hmm.
Um, I don't think we've seen a pass rush like this since probably Dwight Freeney, Dwight Freeney and Robert Mathis together. Um, I love what we have on the line. I think Tyquan Lewis is gonna be missed drastically because I'm sorry, but I love a guy who can set the edge
Yeah,
and not just necessarily rush off the edge, but a guy who will set the edge. And
agreed.
that's one of my favorite things about Tyquan Lewis that he showed me this season. And I think it's so upsetting that he's hurt and he's going to be out the rest of the year because when it came to playing guys like Ryan Tannehill or some guys like Jalen Hurts, we still got to play the Eagles. So playing Jalen Hurts, we need those guys that can set the edge, and Tyquan was showing that he was the most elite at it. But our defensive front as a whole, I'm not too concerned about. I love the combination between DeForest and Grover. Those two are just they've been monsters together the last couple years, but this year Grover is definitely getting the attention because he's definitely shown that he has drastically improved and wants to just disrupt everything. I mean, every game, like especially against Tennessee, the last couple years against Tennessee, that guy has killed Derrick Henry. Just single-handedly has tackled the shit out of Derrick Henry. So, um, linebackers, I think, is probably where the most confusing part comes into play because we have three studs between Bobby, Shaq, and Zaire. I think we're gonna miss EJ Speed also. He's came in, he's made some good plays too. The play that happened last week, I think, was a fluke. The Terry McLaurin over Stephon Gilmore. I just think that was a fluke, man. That's not something that's gonna happen 9 times out of 10. It was just one of those that one time out of 10 that Terry was able to catch that ball over Stephon. So the majority of the time, that shit ain't happening.
Yeah.
It's just not. What I do think is Faison needs to stop playing. Like, I don't know what the obsession is with this guy, but he is the weak point of this defense, and every big play that happens is on Faison.
It's like it's like I think the situation with Gus Bradley and Face On is like what one of your boys has like a really ugly
Yeah.
girlfriend and he wants to continue to keep showing her off and acting like she's a shit and like everybody knows she's not.
Yeah. Fact. I don't get it.
Yeah.
Like, you can even listen to Rick Venturi, and Rick Venturi is calling that dude out every day.
Yeah.
Every day they talk about the defense, he's like, I
The funniest thing about him is he would sit there and say he would compare just the same way that I do with Shaq Leonard and Isaiah Rodgers. He's a turnover guy. And I don't see how he's not on the field with his ability to create turnovers. Yeah, he's gonna have some
I'm gonna
mistakes because he's young and he's learning there. But yeah,
I'm gonna answer this real quick. So a lot of people expected a whole lot of sacks out of Yannick, and I understand that. I think
me and Matt
there's
was on different sides of the pendulum here.
so
A
so
a little bit, a little bit.
I do think um individually Yannick has not really done much. I mean, he's tied with DeForest with sacks, but which kind of looks bad on Yannick because DeForest is a one tech spot and or a three tech, 3-1 depending on your defense. He's a middle guy, and then you got Yannick, who's known as a pass rusher. And they're both tied in
Pure
sacks,
pass rusher.
pure pass rusher. But at the same time, his presence has been felt. I'll say that because if you really watch him on tape, he's there. He's pressuring the quarterback. He's just not ultimately getting the sacks that you would expect him to get, but he's back there. He's pressuring. I think some games I've questioned, hey, why the hell are you not? Like, why'd you stop? Why are you hesitating? I think it was specifically against Jacksonville. Like, he was afraid, and which is also understandable because pass rushers have been getting penalized a lot for roughing the passer this year. And I think that week specifically, we had a lot that led up to that game where people were talking about it. And if you really watch the tape of Yannick against Jacksonville, there was a few times where I was like, whoa, dude, like you had a clear sack there, but he looked like he was afraid to hit him. Um, I think edge rushers this year are kind of going to have to get a grace period because the NFL is cracking down because of what happened to Tua. That's just my opinion because a lot of these edge rushers seem like they're afraid to hit the quarterback.
Yeah.
They don't want to take that 15-yard penalty. They don't know. They just don't seem like they know where they can hit them. You know.
Yeah. My take on Yannick this year. I wouldn't necessarily say I'm looking for a sack guy. Honestly, I think that's where I've started to categorize pass rushers. Um, so I would make it as two separate categories. Are you a sack guy? Or are you a disruptor? And I would prefer a disruptor. Are you a guy that's forcing the QB to throw the ball early? Are you a guy that's tipping passes? Are you the guy that's got the quarterback patting the ball and ready to throw it out? And that's what I was looking for with Yannick. There's been some games where he actually has, like the game against Kansas City. He had Patrick Mahomes pretty worried in the pocket and rushing the ball out to get it out early all day. The first game against Jacksonville, pretty much didn't even know he was on the field. So it's just a tough thing to notice and see. Um, but I mean, it's just tough to say. But what I will say about Yannick, we are better off with him than we are without him. So it's like unless you're gonna find maybe we get the seventh, eighth, ninth overall pick if we're in that position to take like a Will Anderson Jr. if he's that high to get a pass rusher or something like that to replace him. But it's just tough to think that like if you think about the money that pass rushers are gonna make, are we gonna commit and pay this guy like 17, 18, 19, $20 million a year to maybe get a good pass rush going each and every week or not? That's what I struggle with. That's where it starts to come in my mind about where we are with him now. I love Yannick, but I need him to turn it up another notch for me. And it's not even sacks. Like I mean sacks. If you think about a sack, like think about a sack on 1st and 10, you get them to 2nd and 18. The team converts a 2nd and 13. They're on 3rd and 2. So to me, a sack, it's like a good stat or whatever, but I could really care less about it. Now, say he gets a sack, or say he tips a pass, and we get an interception or something off of it. That's what I want. I want a disruptor. So, but
Yeah,
I will
yeah,
say we are better off with him.
I agree with that big time. I will say though, when it comes to our defenses, I'm more excited to see our defense on the field than I am to see our offense on the field.
I was like that till Sam took over.
I'm still like that. I don't. It's just. I think I was kind of like that. No, I wasn't like that with Andrew Luck. When Andrew Luck was our quarterback, I was always excited to see our offense. And but that we had Greg Toller at corner and burnt toast.
I mean,
But
we didn't have a defense then.
yeah. But I mean, lately this year, I mean, even when we had Phillip at first with Phillip Rivers, I was even like, I'd rather just see our defense than our offense. But
I didn't
this
want
year,
to be
it's
Rivers because we
definitely
were going to
like
be a Big Ben.
I think it's why I was so upset last week when we lost to Washington because I was like, I didn't expect us to lose because of our defense. Well, okay, hold on. We didn't lose that because of our defense.
Yeah, see, that's why. See, that's the big thing too. Is there was some comments about the Washington game on Sunday, and many Colts fans, rightfully so, depending on the type of fan that you are. And Ashley comments here. She says, "I want Isaiah Rodgers to start. We all do, and we totally agree with her. He
Oh
should
yeah,
have been
100%.
starting. He should have been
Everyone
starting
does.
since week 2, or since week 1, if whatever way you want to go about it. But he should be starting. But yeah, so depending on the type of fan that you are, the type of football fan you are, if you actually watch film and whatnot, um, our defense did what they were supposed to do. Now it is just tough to. I wouldn't necessarily point the finger at them. Is what I want to say, pretty much here. Like if you think about the drive that they were on before, I want to say it was a 8. It was 18. I think the touchdown drive was 18. I want to say it was about an 11 to 13 play drive. The Washington Commanders drive all the way down from there. I want to say about the 23, all the way down. They kick a field goal. The Indianapolis Colts get the ball back
and
This is
three and out.
with about 2 minutes left,
3 and out.
and they go immediately 3 and out. You cannot do that to your defense.
Nope.
Now, albeit the play call was a 4th and 1, which Frank has to make a decision. I believe it was on our about anywhere from our in between our 40 to
This
30.
this was the
And
4th and inches we were talking about earlier.
yeah, and Frank chooses to punt instead of going for it. So even
So
Rick Venturi said he wouldn't nitpick Frank on that call because of where it's at and the
no,
position on
I'm
your side of the
nitpicking that.
field. So
I'm nitpicking that. Why? Because on third down, Sam Ellinger was the reason we made it to 4th and inches.
yeah, so
He was the one that ended up being short by like 2 inches. So why
so
not let him fall forward?
it's like a little tough thing. You can go with the analytics, you can go with the football argument.
I'm going
Either
for it
way,
every time.
either way you want to exactly. So either way you want to take it, there is no like this is the part that put Franks in the okay, you didn't do the wrong thing argument. But to me, you go for it in that point. Because
Yes.
what you don't do is you don't watch your defense over there sitting there probably gassed, and held the team to a field goal, which they're supposed to do. And so you need to at that point say, hey, offense, we need to go finish this game.
Facts.
Like this offense that we're playing against, they haven't been good all game. We're not going to put our defense out on the field because they just did their job. We need to reward them.
So that
Not with a punt.
what that play call proved to me, and I said it as soon as it happened. Frank doesn't play to win. He plays not to lose.
And that
And
brings it back to that personality thing I told you guys.
you see it in that play calling. When you play to win, you're aggressive. When you play not to lose, you're that conservative. And it's just so ridiculous. Like 4th and inches to me is a no-brainer. I'm like, all right, man. Sam,
With the game on the line.
fall forward.
Yeah.
Don't go backward. All you have to do is get behind Ryan and go forward. And JT's gonna run up
Shit,
or
not even
whoever.
Ryan. Get behind Quentin.
Yeah,
Move somebody.
just get behind somebody and go. And somebody else is gonna push you. And guess what? That game's over. You
Yeah.
just won. You
So,
just won the game.
so that's why when people nitpick our defense there on that drive, I do not because it is hard. It is harder to play defense. It's hard to play defense. So I wouldn't necessarily nitpick our defense there. Although, like I said, Rick Venturi from the Colts podcast also said it is a defensive job. I don't care what the point total is. You could sit here and say a defense is supposed to hold somebody under 20 points or whatever. A defensive job is to hold the team 1 point less than
I
your
did. I
offense.
remember he said that on
So,
Tuesday.
so that was his thing. But to your point, to his point, or against his point there, I believe it is both sides' jobs
Yes.
to try and take care of one another. And if you get
Complimentary
the
football.
call, if you go for it and you get the call wrong and it doesn't work, at least your defense we can look at the defense and say, hey, you were just put in a bad spot because we wanted to end the game. I feel that is the safest bet to put on your defense's shoulders almost every
Facts.
time rather than sending your defense right back out there on a 3-and-out, letting the team go 81 yard or 88 yard to kill the damn game. And so that's where my discrepancy comes into. I don't put the blame on the defense there. And that's just a tough one to call, man. Just a tough one. But I would go for it in that situation if it was me. And then Ashley in the comments is saying that DJ, I'm not gonna try and pronounce his last name, but from Clemson, he sucks. That was the same one I told you that he wasn't that good, and there's been plenty of times. I think he's gotten benched a few times for not being that good. And then Ashley also says, "Why doesn't Sam sneak?" Me honestly, I think we had this conversation a little bit earlier, and the reason Sam doesn't sneak is from Frank's right perspective. We haven't practiced it. So he didn't know if Sam felt comfortable with sneaking the ball on that play. Um, I again, I mean, I think Frank has pretty much set himself up for failure in the situation. It's just like I don't understand how if you have a quarterback taking over, one of the first few things you should be practicing is a sneak. You should be practicing red zone. You should be practicing within the 20, the 10. Those should all be things that you're practicing because within the 30 to 30, those are more like plays that can go either way for each team. And the red zone offense is what you should be primarily practicing when you're having a guy take over. And so, Ashley, to answer your question, like I said, Frank said that we didn't practice it, but
That's a load of crap.
I just don't, I
So
just, I just
I'm
don't
sorry.
understand. I just don't understand how your offensive coordinator and you
No,
do not practicing
please,
offensive
please.
sneak. It's just like it's just one of those things. Like you just got to
You
put yourself in a 10-second, no, 12-second. I'm going to say 12-second situation. If you're an offensive coordinator and you got the ball on the 1 yard line, what does your team do?
listen.
Teams are
I'm
going
gonna
to
tell you
look at
this.
two separate situations. Hold on, one second, Matt.
Go ahead.
They're going to look at your offensive line, and if your offensive line is the top 18 in the league, you're going to say, "Give the quarterback the ball. We're going to go right over it." If you're at that 18 and up, you're going to say, "Hand it off to the running back and see if he can jump over." If you're a passing team, so probably the 25 to up team, you're going to say, "We're going to throw a fade or something like that." So I honestly, Frank is a bullshitter. He'll try and bullshit you, but just not sneaking in there. Just not what I would. I mean, Frank's
Listen.
call.
You do not need to practice a fucking QB sneak.
You
You
don't.
don't. I don't care what anyone says. That was the dumbest thing I've ever heard Frank Reich say in his life. Ever since that man has ever coached and had ever done a press conference. The moment he said, I did not run a QB sneak because I did not practice it with Sam, that is the most retarded shit I've ever heard.
Yeah,
No one specifically practices a QB sneak.
you learn it in high school, man. You
You
just
learn
take
that
the
shit.
ball and move behind the guy that's moving the furthest.
Bro, we learned that shit in fucking Pee Wee. Like push the line forward and have your QB run behind you. It's inches. It's not like it was like 4th and 1, like a full 1 yard. I understand being cautious about that, but then you have the best running back in football, and you're still afraid to get the first down because you were stuffed on the goal line from terrible play calling. Like I'm sorry, man. It's a load of shit, dude. You feel you
Yeah,
3 years ago, Frank would have went for that without even questioning it.
no
He would have
doubt.
went for that.
I think what he's doing these days is he's coaching like his job is on the line, and he doesn't want to give it away by honestly, I don't even know. I don't even know if I can tell you giving it away.
How
I
how
mean, I
did we
think
make how
no.
did
You
we
know
make
what?
the playoffs
You know what?
before?
I think he's just thinking if we don't get it here, I'm for sure fired. I think that's the way he was coaching there,
You can't think
because
like that.
that's the only way. Yeah, but that's the way he's thinking. Like he's walking on eggshells right now, and I think
But
he
then if you
knows.
get it, but then if you get it, you won the game. Like it's so
Yeah, but
dumb
that's
that
the but that's that's
if
the thing
that's
that coaches that got to deal with it on the NFL level. If you don't
and
get it, you look like a genius. If you do get it, I mean, if you do get it, you're looking like a genius. If you don't get it, everybody's calling you an idiot on Monday.
that's fine.
And
That's fine.
and like I think
If
he's just
we used to talk about Frank being one of the most aggressive coaches in football. That man used to go for it on 4th down, no matter where it was. He was going for it.
I
He
think
was
he
going
even
for
said that
two,
too in a
and
presser.
all this stuff. And all of a sudden, it's like, yeah, you don't go for it to win the game. Like, dude, what are you afraid of?
He got clipped.
Your job is already on the line.
He got clipped.
You make that fucking decision, dude. Oh my god,
He got
I'm
clipped.
sorry.
He
I'm sorry,
lost
but
he lost the sack. He got clipped. Yeah.
Like, I understand. I've been in the position of calling plays. I've been in the position of being a coach and having to make decisions and making those decisions. I get it. It's not the same as being in the NFL, but you still have parents behind you, you know? And it's I'm making the decision to win every time. I'm not going to punt the ball, making the decision to not lose because my defense has been playing well all game. But at the same time, you've put your defense in a bad position all game
At the end of the day, you got to do what wins,
every time.
whatever wins.
Let's go
All
ahead and
right.
move on to
Yeah,
the
I
New
was just about
England
to
game.
say, yeah, we've been on
New
this one for a
England.
while. Move on to the Patriots. Um,
We've had our talks all week about this, and I know we're
yeah,
both on different sides of the spectrum.
I will personally just come out right now and just tell everybody in our video searches and our comment sections. I do not believe this is going to be a good game for us. I do not like the Bill Belichick versus Sam Ellinger idea. I think this is going to be a rough game for Sam. I do not like Matt Judon versus this offensive line. I do not like Jack Jones, Devin McCourty versus Mac Joe or about against Sam Ellinger. There's just a lot of mismatches that I don't really like from our offense versus this defense, and I think it's going to be a rough day for us tomorrow.
I'm on the complete opposite, and the reason I'm on the complete opposite is because of four gentlemen on our defense. Right? It's going to be that front four. Why? Because that offensive line for New England is not that good. If anything, they are kind of close to ours. And as long as you pressure Mac Jones, you're going to shut that offense out. Now, I understand being afraid of Bill Belichick because Bill Belichick knows, right? Me and Zach talked about it earlier. Bill Belichick's first coaching job in the NFL was with the Baltimore Colts in 1975. That's
Yep,
insane. As
with
a special assistant.
He was on Rick Venturi's staff.
Yes. Now, that means that man was coaching at least 5+ years in college before that. And then probably at least 5-10 years in high school before that. So that man's been coaching since 1960s. Yeah, I think that man's been coaching for almost damn near over half a century.
He done forgot more football than we know.
Yeah, there's nothing that he's never seen. Nothing. That's why he's so good at being able to coach against your weaknesses, being able to game plan against your
Make you
strengths,
play
everything.
left-handed.
Right. But here's the thing.
Kate
We don't
says, "I think we have this game." Kate, you think we have every game?
I'm with Kate though. I'm with Kate. But but I see it as we don't really have a strength, right? Our strength has been taken away early. He's not playing tomorrow. So now at this point, you have to figure out a quarterback that has one game under his belt. And that one game, Frank didn't even call it in favor of Sam. So how do you game plan against Sam if you don't have real game footage of what Sam can do? You know what I mean? Like you can nitpick last week's game footage, and when you nitpick it, you see what Matt Ryan would have done, and Sam just made better decisions. But if
Yeah.
you utilize Sam to his abilities, and you haven't seen that yet, you're not gonna be able to game plan against it.
So
That's my only argument, and I have the most utmost respect for Bill Belichick because he's ultimately my favorite head coach of all time. My favorite coach of all time is Wade Phillips. Dude is a defensive mastermind. But I'm just saying, man, it looks like it's going to be a weird matchup for both teams. They have they have a QB controversy over there, right? Because Mac Jones was already benched twice for Zappy, so you don't even really know what quarterback you're going to get. Um, their running back is out. Their offensive line's not good. Their defense
they
has
got
Judon, and
Ramondre.
that's about it. Huh?
They got Ramondre. That's their starter.
Oh.
Yeah. So just like you said, the strengths. So that's the tough part about this team. I think our strength is now our receiving core and our defensive line. And just like Bill Belichick said, they got a really good defensive line, and they got a couple of guys with O's that I can't pronounce their name. That's Odengbo and Odenigbo. So he can't pronounce those guys, but he knows that there's some pretty good pass rushers. And this goes all the way back to the beginning, if you guys remember what Matt said about losing Taekwon Lewis. I do not like the idea of Taekwon Lewis being gone. Quiddy Pay is, I love him. He's a really good pass rusher. I think he's really starting to come on. Um, but he does not play the edges well as far as those boots, the play
Nope.
actions. He does not play those well. He loves to chase the run. He thinks that's always going to be the first action. Um, and so I think he's going to use that a lot. Mac Jones isn't necessarily the best quarterback on the run, but he plays pretty effectively. I think Bailey Zappi, if we see him, is going to be a really long day for us. I like Bailey Zappi. I like what Bailey Zappi can do out on the edges, and think he can really be nice, a nice quarterback against us for what he does. Now with our receivers against their secondary, that is a really tough battle. But the thing is when you go back and look at the tape, like Matt said here, now you don't have a lot of tape on Sam, but what you can watch for is you watch this guy can move, this guy can make tight window throws, and this guy can throw the deep ball. So when you're watching the tape on Sam, you have a lot to game plan for. My issue is not only with the second year quarterback of Sam, technically the first year, since this is his first year playing, but it's Frank Wright. It's Frank Wright. Like when Frank Wright feel like he has to call plays for somebody to win against, so this is why I could understand why you picking the Colts to win over the Patriots, is that Frank Wright, when he knows he has to beat a guy such as a Bill Belichick, he calls a better game. But it's just some of those plays where I feel like Frank Wright is going to try and limit and protect Sam Ellinger too much to try and expose the secondary. And from what I've seen, Sam doesn't look like he'd play hero ball, but it's just tough to say how to see this matchup going. It could go either way, but I just feel like the Patriots pass rush is going to be too much for this offensive line if Frank is going to continue to call the Matt Ryan playbook.
Well, I mean, I'd actually prefer to see Sam play the the hero ball. What clearly it shows that in this offense, what we need is a quarterback who will play the hero ball, because that's what Frank needs to save his goddamn career, right? Andrew Luck did it in 2018, and he even did it in the locker room, right? Because if you remember, we started 1-5 that year, and Andrew Luck was like, "Hey." I guess they did like from what I remember is somebody, I think it was Ty, said that they had a team meeting of just players without the coaches, and
A
Andrew Luck
players
cussed.
only meeting.
Yeah, and Andrew Luck cussed everyone out, and the next thing you know, we win 9 out of 10 games and make the playoffs. Um,
I heard those meetings are bad for our team, supposedly.
not
That's what
always.
yeah, Aaron Rodgers and AJ Hawk on the Pat McAfee show says those are a bad meeting for our team. That's when things are going really bad.
But that I mean, things were going really bad that year. We were 1-5.
Yeah,
That's what needs to happen. The only problem is Aaron Rodgers. I don't know, man. I don't like Aaron Rodgers. So I think the dude's a
yeah.
douchebag. But um, I think that's ultimately what we need, man. I think we need somebody in the quarterback position to actually just step up and do what they can to win the game, no matter what. And Matt Ryan, I mean, our offense has looked like the Atlanta Falcons. That's what it looked like with Matt Ryan under center.
The 2021 Falcons.
Yes, that's exactly what it looked like. When you look at Matt Ryan last year, he was getting hit all the time. He was forcing throws. He was doing this. He was doing that. And then
just without Cordell Patterson.
right. And then you bring him here and you think you're going to change him. The guy has been in the NFL for 15 years. What do you think you were going to change? That is why I like Sam. I like Sam because he's coachable. Right? He's young. This guy is all he can do is learn. And he just finished his first start. So if he's not sitting there with his coaches and learning what he did wrong or what he can improve on, then he's not doing it right. I don't care if you're in the NFL or not. Matt Ryan's been in the NFL for 15 years. There's nothing you could tell that guy that's going to change him or take him from what he's used to doing.
Yeah,
But
so
you can fix Sam.
That's one of my things I love about Sam. He actually went to Stephon Gilmore on Tuesday. Went straight to him and said, "Hey," basically he was talking about Belichick and this New England offense, and pretty much just asked him, "What does he do? What does he like to do? How does he like to get
Yep.
guys off their game?" And I guess Stephon Gilmore has said this isn't the first time he's done it. He's been doing it since he's been on the active roster. So it's something that I like to see from Sam. Um, but the problem is with Matt Ryan, he came in and thought he was going to have the offensive line to just sit back in the pocket with. Like if you watch the Eagles, I think there was a meme that went around that Jalen Hurts is just sitting there in the pocket, and he has the perfect C shape. You know, when you can just sit in the pocket, you got all day to just sit back there,
They have the number one
see who you're
offensive
going to
line in
find.
football.
Exactly. And that's what Matt Ryan thought he was coming into. And honestly, I can say all the way back to 2018 to 19 to 20 to 21 to now, it has never been the greatest pass blocking offensive line.
Nope.
So if you watched it on film, you could clearly see that the best this line has looked was with Philip Rivers because he was getting the ball out so fast. You could see with 2021 because Jonathan Taylor had 1,800 yards rushing. This was a good rushing offensive line. It's been the most overrated pass blocking offensive line. And so that's what Matt Ryan thought he was coming into, and it's really been a struggle for him to catch on because I don't even think in Matt Ryan's career that he's ever been a guy to get the ball out fast anyway.
Nope.
And so that's why it truly didn't work. And clearly, Ursay didn't see it because he thought Matt Ryan would be an astronaut with this offensive line, and turned out he was a dump truck driver.
All right. What is your key matchup for tomorrow?
My key matchup is going to be the offensive line versus Matt Judon. I mean, Matt Judon is tied for the league in sacks. I think Matt Judon is going to have the game of his career tomorrow, as far as I can tell, just the way it looks. I mean, he's not a speed rusher, so I think uh, Bernard Ryman can hold up against him because he does way better against athletic guys than he does versus speed guys. So I think he could potentially have a big day or have a good day against him. But I just think Matt Judon versus this offensive line, man, just might not be so good. That'd be my key matchup. We got Tez so ambitious coming into the comments. What's up, fellas? I would love to see us draft AR-15, Hendon Hooker, CJ Stroud, Will Levis. I would prefer AR-15. His upside is crazy. I'm going to tell you right now, I am a Florida Gators fan. AR-15. He is my quarterback, but I believe he should stay another year in college. He needs the development. His accuracy is not exactly there yet. He does really have really good upside as far as his running ability, his deep throw ability. He reminds me a lot of Josh Allen when he plays, but I think he should develop his accuracy a little bit more. I've been highly on this. You can ask anybody. Will Levis, to me, is not the guy. Anybody who drafts Will Levis is about to end up with Josh Rosen 2.0. They're going to be a sad sap for drafting a quarterback at number 6 or 5 or whatever they're at, because they're going to end up with the number 1 overall pick the next year because he is that bad. I do not like Will Levis. Hendon Hooker, CJ Stroud, Bryce Young, they have all struggled today in their late round matchups. I've been watching a lot of those today. I'm currently watching Bryce Young right now. A lot of those quarterbacks, they struggle against elite defenses or pretty good defenses when they don't have everything really good around them. So I would, I mean, the draft thing, we've been talking about it a little bit in a couple of our group chats, but I personally say we should probably hold off on that until we're completely out of this thing. But honestly, I could tell you right now, watching these quarterbacks, none of these guys are supposedly the next Andrew Luck, the next Trevor Lawrence, pretty much the highest guys that are rated out of quarterback. So unless we're gonna have everything ready for around any of these kids, we may want to hold off on the quarterback talk.
All right. So my
Your matchup, Matt.
My key matchup tomorrow is going to be Paris Campbell on anyone on that defense. Mainly because we've seen Paris Campbell all year slowly get better, slowly get faster. He's just, I don't know, man. He's become what you were hyping up all off season, and I was kind of bashing all off season. So I'm going with your boy, man.
I love my guy Sam.
That's my offensive matchup, but my defensive matchup is going to be DeForest Buckner. I think DeForest Buckner is going to eat tomorrow.
Oh yeah, they got their center is out. Patriot center is out. I forgot his name, but he's out. Yeah, I like those picks. I love my guy Parrish. I want my guy Parrish to get more involved, man. I'm Kate Hoffman. You know,
Kate definitely says I've been super bashing
yeah,
Paris,
yeah.
and I definitely had. I
He
was.
has been, no, because it wasn't his fault. It wasn't his fault. I totally understand him because me, you know, being a Colts fan is difficult, man. Being a Colts fan is difficult because it's like you're either a realist or you look at the upside to everybody you guys draft. So it's like really difficult to see what you have there. Because me and Matt even had this discussion in the offseason. Matt was telling me, like, all our receivers are unproven. I don't believe in none of these guys. And I'm just like, I'm telling you, Matt, we just got to get them going. And like, you look what happened. Like, look at our receivers. Like, even Matt's now a believer. Like, our receiving core is fine, but it's just tough to believe in them when you don't see them. So that's why I really think we do need a quarterback. But I want a quarterback that we need to. So, I mean, we've had talks in it. I don't want to get into it right now because I'm still into the season until the season is like going to be pretty much out of our way. Because right now we're really still in the fight, but we need to fix our offensive line, and I think any quarterback would be able to thrive in the system with the weapons that we have. So yeah, I just need Paris to keep being healthy. Um, and then Tez is saying here about he thinks Woods is finally gonna go off, but I think anybody in this offense can really go off if we can protect the players. Like Kate says, "Do you don't trust Sam?" I do trust Sam. I don't trust Frank. I don't trust Frank to trust Sam. Like, I mean, anything that we get that can go well is Frank. I don't like Frank. I can no longer think that Frank can run this offense to his best ability. I think Frank holds. Matt has said it like a billion times. Frank is holding Sam back. Frank is holding this offense back, and until he can just I don't know if it's the quarterback in him that always wants to protect the players or whatever it is, his mentality, whatever. But Frank is holding the offense back.
Frank will always be the person that holds this team back. And I've been saying it since 2020, and I will continue to say it. Even in 2020, he held this offense back, right? I mean, Hines went off, but he was still kind of held back. JT went off, but he was still kind of held back. MPJ got 900 something yards, but he was held back. It's just, yeah, even Kate's saying it here, man. I've been saying it for a long time, man. This team is going to go as far as Frank lets it, and Frank is not letting it go very far, and we've seen it this year. And I'm not going to lie. The non-humble me is going to sit back and laugh when I see all the fans that are saying "Fire Frank." I laugh
There goes Kate with the fire Frank right on
because
cue.
because I because I've been saying it, man. I mean, you've seen me even in our AFC South Fortress group. I've said it. I mean, in every group I'm in, I've said it. I don't like Frank Wright. I never did. I thought he was that guy that gives you cookie cutter fucking answers in the press conferences. He gives you cookie cutter fucking offenses. Our offense was way too vanilla last week. It was way too vanilla to have
All
a
year.
mobile quarterback and a good running back, the top running back in football, a year ago. To have those two together and you call a vanilla offense like that, it makes no sense. It doesn't make sense. And then one drive you call it not vanilla, and then you mess it up and you start calling vanilla when you get into the opposing, territory. Frank, it's Frank, man.
Yep. And like I said, I told you guys all from the get go. I was a Frank Wright apologist. Like I was a Colts apologist. Like anything that could go wrong, there was an excuse I made for him. And just watching Frank do what he does, it's just inevitable to find a way. And just like last year. So think about this year, guys. We have not led going into a fourth quarter. Not one time this year, you guys. We have not led going into one fourth quarter. And so think about last year. Frank Wright has literally given up the most leads in the NFL. So this has just been terrible from wherever Frank can start to wherever he can finish. And I was the guy that kept apologizing for Frank Wright, kept making excuses for him, saying it was different things. The offense did this, the offense did that. But ultimately, it comes down to, is your offensive coordinator, is your play caller going to put your guys in the correct position to be able to succeed? And Frank has not shown that.
No, he goes, listen, man, this is the thing I hate about him the most, right? Jelani Woods gets 2 touchdowns against, was it Tennessee? No, that's not my daughter. Um, gets 2 touchdowns against Tennessee, and then the next week he doesn't even use Jelani Woods. It makes no sense, and Frank has done this nonstop. You know, you use Philip Lindsay does whatever he does, and then next thing you know, you don't use him. Uh, Deion Jackson breaks off a 30-yard run, and then he comes off the field. Uh, JT breaks off a 28-yard run, and the next thing you're throwing the ball. Paris Campbell last week has a jet sweep and a screen all on the same drive, and then you stop using them. Yeah,
Yep, every
it's just
time.
what Frank never rides the high horse. He just constantly changes it. Like he's trying to outsmart people, but he's outsmarting himself, and it just
One
drives me
hundred
insane.
percent.
Just
Yep,
drives
he
me
even
insane.
said that. He said that he forgets that JT is our best player. He continuously giving him the ball, and I thought that was a pretty insane, shitty thing to say as an offensive coordinator. Like, how do you think you can't give your best player the ball multiple times? Like, that's supposed to be your job as offensive coordinator. Put the ball in your best player's hands as many times as possible. So I just thought that was pretty insane. But
It
Ted
just drives
says
me.
here, Sam is great. It's not that I don't want him. I just want the best competition in the QB room. Even if we draft a QB next year, he will sit behind Sam regardless. As far as head coach, IDK, who is the best fit? I would love Sean Payton or a young head coach.
So we're not going to get Sean Payton. Sean Payton's under contract with the Saints. He will be for the next few years. He retired early. I
Yeah,
wouldn't want Sean Payton to begin with because I always thought Sean Payton was carried. Um,
by Drew
but
Brees.
yeah.
So
Um,
yeah, Tez, for me, just like you said, Sam is great, and I agree with Tez. Like I would like the a QB competition as well, but I'm not ready to go that far yet. I have my own thoughts about it, but it's just because of the fact that we're not out of the battle. Like we can still either somehow win the division because obviously the Titans have the Chiefs this week, or we can make the playoffs. One way or another, I think that um, God damn it, Frank can keep his job, or Sam may be a guy. So I'm not ready to give up on all of that yet. Because one way or another, I'm not a guy that's gonna ever sit there and be like, I'm ready to give up on the season.
nope.
'Cause I don't like
Listen,
losing. So
listen.
I'd be damned if I wake up every 8 o'clock on every Sunday to watch us sit there and lose, knowing we're gonna lose. So as much, even if I think we're gonna lose the game, I still have hope that we can win
the,
that game.
the last
Um,
time we tanked, I was in Afghanistan. Didn't even realize we were tanking. All right,
yeah,
I was deployed, so I didn't even watch that season.
I
I'm
I
I'm
I
not
had a
for it.
calendar and put L on it every
I'll say
single week out of
facts.
out of 16 seasons, waiting for us to get a damn win. So
Here's the thing. I'll sit here and I'll say, Jim Irsay, everybody else makes it sound like it's a bad thing. Jim Irsay won't fire a head coach in the middle of the season.
no,
He won't fire
yeah,
a GM. He's gonna do what he can to make sure that they can try and salvage the season, and I'm okay with that because I don't want to fucking
That's the
lose.
definition of a good organization right there.
Yeah,
So that's what makes a good
why am I
organization.
gonna spend 3 hours on a Sunday hoping we lose? Like that doesn't make fucking sense.
Exactly. So,
I could,
and then as far as head coach, I do have my own head coaching ideas. I feel free to spread those because of the fact that I want Frank gone one way or another. I do
I
have
have
my
one
thoughts
name.
that if we make the playoffs, I know Frank will stick around. He's not going to go anywhere if we make the playoffs. Or no, I shouldn't say make the playoffs. If we win the division, if we make the division, Frank sticks around. If we make the playoffs and win one game, then yeah. But yeah. So I like D'Amico Ryans from San Francisco. That would be my current guy, or to be Jim Harbaugh from Michigan. So Those are my two guys. And
My
Kate,
only
yeah,
one is
the
Harbaugh.
the Titans have pretty much dominated the Chiefs, but I think the Chiefs are going to be ready to roll against the Titans this week because they're finally going to look at them as a team. I wouldn't necessarily say good, but they're going to look at the team that they need to be. I have a friend who's a Titans fan, and he's not one of those ones that acts like the Titans are hella good. And he was talking about their 5-2 record, and he told me like we haven't beat a team with a good record. So nobody they beat in their 5-2 season is over 500. So I wouldn't necessarily say like let's act like the Titans are good or that they've really beat anybody. They're just a team that overachieves with a really fucking good head coach.
That's
That's
all
what
it
it is.
is. That's all it is. They
So
just have a good head coach and
so
they're very disciplined. That's ultimately
so
how they win.
if we can put our talent on the tape, we literally could be able to take.
Facts. Facts. All right, final predictions for tomorrow. What do you got?
Man, I got us losing 31-7
That sounds.
to the Patriots.
I hope
I'm not
not.
even gonna sugarcoat it. Like like usually I can kind of visualize how this game is gonna turn out, but it's hard for me to be optimistic right now. Just seeing from what I see, like I got us losing 31-7.
I believe Frank Reich is
God damn, Zach says 42-17. We lose. Jesus Christ! If we lose that
oh
bad,
no.
I might cry, man.
Ooh, my goodness.
I might cry if we lose that bad. I mean, I guess that's still around the same score that I said, but geez, that just looks awful.
I'm okay. I'll be the fucking oddball here because I'm so optimistic about this Patriots game, but I just can't say Pats win. I'm going. It's such a low scoring shit show. I'm actually going to. I'm
Kate
going.
says 87-0 Colts.
I love Kate. I'm going 17-9 Colts.
I mean, I'd love to. Actually, you know what? Not as you say that. See, when I look at it, so Tez says 20-31 Pats. Ashley, I do gotta disagree with you. That Titans defense is really good outside of their secondary, and they get even better in the red zone. So unless you can score deep on them, they will be good. Um, Ashley also says 35-27 Colts. And then Zach says, me too, but our offensive line is trash and Pats have a great pass rush. So I will go with Matt on this point. Matt said, you said 17-6 or 17-9?
17-9.
Yeah, 17-9. So if you guys go back, I don't know how many people in here really watch film and watch every other game, but if you watch the Jets versus the Patriots game, the only reason why the Patriots won that game and they were really in it is because Zach Wilson was a complete idiot. I mean, like he threw three terrible, and I mean terrible. Not I don't want to say just like some tight windows, maybe made a mistake interceptions. He threw three terrible interceptions in that game, and I had changed my mind that the Patriots would beat the Jets only because Brees Hall had got hurt, and so there's a good chance the Colts could pull out a win in this game if our defense plays really well and if our offense plays efficient. Um, but I just, I mean, Matt's kind of changing my mind right now because I'm obviously a Colts fan, man. I want us to win so bad, but it's just tough to say. But if we win, of course, I'm gonna be happy as hell. I'll be unapologetic about another 12 to what is it 12 to what do we beat the Broncos 12-9. I will take another 12-9 victory. But it's just tough. Ashley,
Oh,
I
here we
told
go.
you.
This is a good.
Ashley says 21-0 Notre Dame. I told you they had a chance. I told you.
I'm gonna Tez. Hey Tez, I like this. I watch every film and game as if I'm part of the staff. One player I'm completely disappointed in is Kenny Moore, and to be honest, if there's a value, I would trade him next year.
Me and Matt have spoke on this.
Agree. Agree.
Yeah.
Agree.
So Tez, Matt, if it's all right with you, I just wanted to speak on this because Kenny Moore is my favorite player on the Colts. Like he's been my favorite player since 2018, and Um, it's just tough to say. But he just has not been playing well. And me and Matt kind of, I don't know if we were bickering or arguing or whatever, but we got into a little back and forth
We
about
do
it.
that a lot. We
And
do that a lot. It's all out of
yeah,
love.
yeah.
It's all out of love.
It was just about Kenny Moore asking for more money and whatnot. And I feel like when he asked for more money, it kind of ruined his whole situation. And the fact that he asked for more money and he didn't play up, I'm really off that boat. So my voice is Zach said. Can anybody else hear that? Zach said my mic is acting weird. Normal to really deep sometimes. I think that's just me, Zach. I think that's because like when I get like real hyped up, my voice will get like high pitched and whatnot, and so it's kind of changing. But yeah. So yeah, Kenny Moore, man, he's been my favorite player for a while, and so it's just tough to see this kind of fall off, man. I love Kenny Moore, my favorite player, but I just think when you go and ask for that money, you got to go and ball out if you're gonna ask for that money. And I just don't really like the fact that he asked for it, and before he even asked for it. So against the Raiders and against the Jags, he was playing terrible, and then he came into the season playing terrible. So that's just tough. Yep, Zach. Zach says more money, less coverage. That's his name in our group chat as well. I mean, that's been a lot of players, man. They want more and they do less. Um, Kate Hoffman, yep. Yep, D. Love more. I love Kenny Moore, but that's my thing. You can't ask for more money and then underperform. If you're gonna ask for more money, you got to play up. You can't play down. Tez says right, and he had 2 years left in that contract as well. Exactly. So if you're gonna play up, that's who I actually thought was gonna be traded. So when we heard the trade for Naeem Hines, I thought that would be Kenny Moore to go to who was it? Somebody mentioned it on first take. I think I forgot what team they said, but they thought Kenny Moore was going to be traded basically to the Saints, I think maybe or somebody else. But if you're gonna ask for money, you got to play up. You can't play down, and you can't be coming off 2 bad games and then coming into the season and start playing bad. And then Phillies are up 1-0. Ashley says,
Yes, ma'am. Let's go
uh,
Phillies. Let's
hopefully,
go.
hopefully, hopefully they can keep running because Houston looks like they found their vibe. So hopefully the Phillies can get back into it. I know.
We need to win the next two. All right, we have to win the next two because if we win tonight, it goes into Game 7, and then
Game 7 is in Philly.
nope,
No,
it's in
Houston.
Houston.
Oh,
So
so y'all in Philly right now? Okay.
no, we're in Houston right now. So the last two games
Oh,
are in
it's Game
Houston.
5. My bad. Game 5. I'm tripping. But yeah. So it's just a lot of Colts players that need to take it upon themselves and get that right. Zach Davis says matchup tomorrow he's looking for is how the O line stops Matt Judon. So he's basically on the same boat as me. That's the matchup that I've been looking at, and I mean, I don't want to say I'm scared or anything, but it's just Matt Judon has been on a tear this year, and our offensive line. To me, if I was him looking at this offensive line, I'd be thinking barbecue chicken.
But here's the,
He says,
but here's my thing,
Matt
right?
Judon, you can slow down the entire pass rush, which allows the Colts to open up things downfield. So he's thinking if our offensive line can slow down Matt Judon even a little bit, we can get the ball into receivers' hands, such as Alec Pierce, Michael Pittman Jr., Pierce Campbell. Yeah, Zach, 8.5 sacks exactly. He's tied for the league. Go ahead, Matt.
I'm gonna say this, right? And this goes back to us being able to say we could coordinate this offense easily, right?
Yeah, totally.
My first play is a screen.
Oh my God! I was just about to say the same damn thing.
My first play is a screen all day, right? Because I know that my offensive line struggles, right? It's not going to be a run play, but I mean, it's going to be a run play because that's what Frank's going to call. But to me, if I'm offensive coordinator, my first play call is a screen, and it's because of the fact that I'm going to let Judon come on in, and it's going to be a screen to his side. I'm going to make him have to hesitate. And then my second play call is going to be a draw. Why?
Right at
Because
him.
right at him. Why? Because you just saw a screen. So now you're thinking pass, and now I'm going to take a run to you.
Make
Cool.
him
We're going to get
hesitate every play.
yeah, let us go ahead and get another 3 yards, right? Because I'm expecting a first down off of that screen. So now it's second and 7, second and 6. And now I'm going right back at you because now you don't know what now you're just all fucked up. So now I'm going to run to the other side of the field. I'm getting away from you.
Hmm.
And it's that easy. It's not
Yeah.
hard. It's
Tez
not
says,
hard. They have one guy who can disrupt your offense. How hard is it to take that guy out of the out of the game? How hard is it? We struggled against it in Jacksonville with Josh Allen. It's not that hard.
just like Rick Venturi says, if you don't know what your weaknesses are as a team, when you play against Belichick, you're going to know within the first 2 minutes what your team struggles at. So, Tez Ambitious says, my other sleeper in the Pats game is Jordan Wilkins, making his return in Indy, already activated from the practice squad. Tez, I disagree there. I think Jordan is going to have about 5 carries. I'd say if we're lucky, we see 20 to 25 in between Deion Jackson and Philip Lindsay. But yeah, I mean, like Zach said, we need to limit Matt Judon. Run at him, screen his way, force him to use his pass rush ability against himself. Um,
Facts.
I personally don't see this game going well for us just because the way Frank Wright is. I hope Frank Wright goes against everything I think he's going to do and he gets creative.
But what I need to see is, right, because you don't want to give a straight answer in these press conferences. You need to The thing is the pressure is on Frank this week because you need to dominate this game offensively because you just fired your offensive coordinator.
Yep,
So now you alone, you have to dominate this game. There's no other way around it. If you don't dominate this game, you're going to have Greg Doyle questioning you on Monday morning. Everybody is going to be questioning you.
yep.
You
Zach says
fired Marcus Brady.
the Pats secondary is weak, but I fully expect the Pats to bracket MPJ and force the Colts to go elsewhere. They're going to force Sammy to beat us because that's the risk they're willing to take. And see, that's why I think this offense is so easy to game plan for because you can't just take MPJ away anymore. Like Alec Pierce has shown, he's a guy you need to cover. I mean, I don't know if they're going to put the rookie Josh Jones on him, who's been an absolute dog. But his speed probably isn't going to match Alec Pierce's speed. So then, if you want to try and take away Alec Pierce, I mean, you still leave MPJ, and you got Paris Campbell. Paris Campbell has had 17 catches for 215 yards and 2 touchdowns. So I mean, it's like you could pick your poison with this offense. I love everything we got on offense. Then you got Jelani Woods and these guys. So I mean, like I said, it's like I could tell you guys a thousand times what I would do with this offense to be absolute
It's just a matter if Frank
elite.
does it.
Yeah, exactly. It's just a fact of is Frank going to take advantage of every weapon he has? Because it's like, okay, take away him if you want to. I got him. Take away him. I got him. Take away him. I got him. Take away. It just as your ballot. I mean, you're Frank Wright. You got so many weapons.
I'm gonna answer this one. This
Ted
one's from
says,
Tez. Tez says, "Who you guys think is gone? Ballard, Frank, or both?" I think Ballard's still safe to some degree. Frank has got to go.
Tez, I
So I'll
agree.
answer
I was
this
gonna
one.
say I agree.
I will say Frank has got to go since 2019. We're way past due on firing Frank. But I'll say I don't think Ballard is safe. I don't. I do think he's built a solid roster around here. Um, but he has failed to be able to answer the most important questions on a roster offensively, and that is left tackle and QB. Those two positions have not been answered. Those two positions are the reason we are in the position we're in. And Frank is literally running in circles trying to figure out how to make this offense run. So ultimately, I believe that the way the offense fails goes on both Ballard and Frank. And to say to Kate, I do not think Frank drafts very well. I think he's
Ballard,
gotten
Ballard, Ballard.
Ballard, my bad. I don't think Ballard drafts very well. Um, Ballard hit on JT and MPJ, who are both gimmies. Darius Leonard, he got lucky because Darius Leonard was projected like a 4th, 5th round pick that year. We took him in the 2nd. So kudos. He was projected later. He was not projected 2nd round.
I don't know, bro. I gotta disagree there because Darius Leonard. I mean, yeah, he got a bit lucky on that one, but to
That's the
say
only one.
JT and MPJ were gimmies is tough, man. They had Carson Strong out of Nevada. I'm pretty close to this kid. Like I've seen this kid play right down the street from me a couple times. He was projected to go 2nd, 3rd overall pick and went undrafted. So I wouldn't necessarily say these projections is crazy to go with. Um, I mean, I like Ballard. I think Ballard has drafted some. I think this guy is. If you want to demote him and make him just like a scout, like to where he's the guy that's helping you pick people, then that'd be perfect.
You can't do
Part-
that.
I
You
mean,
can't do
I
that.
know. I'm just
You
saying. I'm
can't
just.
do that.
I know. I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
That's not even the demotion. That's like you just went back to the
Hey,
beginning.
hey, I don't care. Hey, I don't care. Hey, you're a little man
This,
now.
this
You
man was
just decide.
scouting. This man was scouting when you were in diapers. You can't.
Hey, I completely
You can't
understand.
demote him back to that.
I completely understand, but guess what? I choose a better quarterback than him every single time. I tell you that. Like, and I do better at left tackle. So this is my thing, you guys. Like, I think Frank is gone. Like Matt has been on this since 2019, or actually not 2019. He's been on this since 2018 after the Texans game that we actually won. Matt has been calling for. Me and him have been in the arguments. Me and him have been in disagreements. Me and him have been in agreements, and then we agreements. So this is how long we've been going at this as far as Frank Wright. Frank Wright is definitely gone. He's out the building, out the door. If Frank Wright is not gone, I don't know what me and Matt do. You might see us in different uniforms next year. But Chris Ballard is different though. I like Chris Ballard's drafting outside of when it comes to free agency and quarterback. Those are the two things. If Frank Ballard can, Chris Ballard can fix his ideologies on how he's going to build a team, that can potentially save his job because I think Ballard brings in the stuff that we need. Like look at Thomas, exactly. Zach Davis just said that there from Yale. So Zach, I agree. Frank Ballard, gee, why I keep doing that? This
We did
alcohol.
it too. I
fucking
did
me
it
up.
too. I did it too.
Chris Ballard has actually found. I don't want to necessarily say gems, but he has found. Yeah, actually, I'm the alcohol getting me. Chris Ballard has found a lot of gems that I think a lot of these pieces that a lot of teams could actually use right now. It's just his problem is thinking that he can go cheap on key positions is the problem with Chris Ballard. Me and Zach had this conversation before about like a GM. Fire Frank Ballard. You guys are gonna kill me with this tonight. Um, like it's just like every GM is gonna have misses, right? You're gonna draft a guy you think is good, and you're gonna miss on him, but you can't miss on key positions such as me and Zach Davis said many times: pass rusher, cornerback, receiver, and obviously the person who touches the ball every single time, quarterback. Um, I think Chris Ballard can stick around, but he's gotta get over the being cheap at the key positions and everything else he does to me, in my opinion, just my opinion. I know me and Matt will disagree a little bit. I love Matt's opinion. That's why I always ask his opinion. Even if me and him sit there and argue at it, we'll butt heads. Like people may even think we're fighting, but it's just like I like to get his opinion because me and Matt are on the same level when it comes to that football acumen on seeing things differently. But I just think Ballard does a really good job at finding key pieces. It's just when it comes to finding the ones that we need the most, that's where he blanks on. And I know that's probably a big thing as a GM that you can't do, but it's just where he hits is the positions that I think like, damn, I would have never
So
thought.
what I noticed about Ballard is that he's a stud when it comes to drafting or getting anybody defensively, right? Defensively, I mean, we're top of the league right now without turnovers. We could arguably be one of the best defenses,
I love you guys too.
a top 3 defense,
Without
without
turnover.
getting all those turnovers. And imagine what we get if, Shaq comes back and we start forcing all those turnovers. We're number 1 defensive football, and we could ride a number 1 defense into the playoffs. And I'm good with that. What I feel like he's failed at is, like you said, the key positions. But to me, as a GM, those are your first priorities, are your key positions. QB should have been fixed 3 years ago. And
Absolutely.
that's just my opinion.
I
I
think that was
get
the
it.
biggest mistake.
I get it. We got Bobby O, we got MPJ, we got JT, we got Quentin Nelson, we got Blackman. Blackman was a question mark when he got drafted. Why? Because he was coming off of a torn ACL. He didn't even play that whole season that we drafted him. So at that time that he was drafted, I was like, I don't know what this guy's going to be because he's still recovering. We didn't even know if he was going to play the first half of that rookie season, right? Quentin Nelson was a gimme. The dude was the best guard in football.
Yep. Not
MPJ,
best guard, best lineman.
yeah.
Best lineman that year.
I mean, I'll give him MPJ, right? Because that year I wanted Justin Jefferson, but Justin Jefferson was gone.
She
I'll give
said
him
Pearson.
MPJ.
Pearson.
JT dropped to us in the third. We even traded up in the third to get him,
Second.
which was good. Was it the second?
Yeah,
'Cause
second round.
yeah, one of
We
those
took
rounds.
him and MPJ. I think it was 238 and 242. So second round. I think it was two picks.
But Bobby
Early
O,
second rounders.
we got lucky that he developed into what he's in. And to me, uh, I'm still upset that we let go of Anthony Walker. But
They go kill me with this Frank Ballard.
yeah,
But yeah,
Kate's killing me, bro.
yeah, I know she's gonna keep coming after me. So Ted says Ballard's only notched with the amount of pass rushers he has invested in some cornerbacks, guys like Basham, Quincy Wilson, Malik Hooker, Zach Banner, Teray, etc. But I think he is too cheap. Look at the Nico Autry situation. I think that two offensive line guys were stupid. So I mean, like I said before, Tez, I mean, like it's tough to hit on every pick. Like if you look at the guys that you name, some guys were misses, like Basham. He's worked out for the Cowboys. Quincy Wilson. I I thought he was going to be good because personally I'm a Gators fan, so I had some bias and didn't work out. Malik Hooker. He was just an injury prone guy working out for the Cowboys. Zach Banner, we can all throw that one in the trash. We knew that one was bad. Teray, he's with the Niners. He was really good until an injury. Um, but then the cheap part where you look at Danico Autry. So if you asking me and Matt here about Danico Autry, we are two guys who are not never on the Danico Autry game. I think Danico Autry is just a guy who stands up whenever he has to play the Colts. Personally, outside of that, he's like a guy that'll get you a good, decent amount of sacks. But
Danico,
I honestly, I was never high on Autry. I was fine when I'm walking out the door. He chose the Titans over the Colts for a little. I want to say it was like $500,000 was the difference that he chose the Titans over us. So it's just one of those situations. Like I said, like people got to remember, never rank a GM off of every single pick. A GM's job is to at least hit on one or two of the guys that they draft, and you most likely want those guys to be in the first round. But at least if you hit, you want to be able to hit on at least one or two of those guys. So I wouldn't necessarily say that. But as far as the cheap part, me and Zach have talked about this a couple times, is the fact that he's be cheap in free agency. Like this year, if he sticks around, he cannot be cheap on a left tackle. He has to go get us a left tackle in free agency. That has been my discussion. We gotta go get one. Gotta solidify that position for our quarterback. Because me, along the offensive line, you need to get left tackle, center, and right tackle. Tez, yeah, I see what you're saying about the 7.5 with us and only wanted 21 million for 3 years. I'm gonna let Matt go before I get to that point. But like I said, I just think Autry is. I mean, I think
listen,
he is.
listen. I'll say this: if you've watched Autry on tape, he was one of our weakest links on the defensive line. Right? He can't contain the edge. He couldn't, he couldn't run cover. Right? So anytime anybody tried to run, that dude was missing everything, especially on the edge. The only reason he was averaging 7.5 sacks every year with us was because of who he had playing next to him. And it's showing in Tennessee. The man's got Jeffrey Simmons. The dude is a cleanup. You ever watch baseball? That's what he is. He's a relief pitcher. That's it. I don't like Danico Autry. I never did. He only plays good against us since he's been to Tennessee. And he's played cleanup for anyone he's played next to. That's all it is. Jeffrey Simmons applies the pressure. Danico Autry cleans up. DeForest Buckner applies the pressure. Danico Autry cleaned up. That's all it was, man. That's it.
Yep, I agree with Matt there because when he was with us, everybody was still talking about how terrible our pass rush was. So
And then when you look at it, man, our run game on the edge was terrible because Danico Autry couldn't seal the edge. Like I said earlier, man, I love Tycon Lewis because of the way he seals the edge.
he's just one of those guys that when you see your old team, like I'm gonna play hard against them because they let me walk.
Yep.
It's one of those tough parts. Yes, Kate. Kate says Titans is how you say it because I never call them the way you spell it out. I always spell it really funny, so it pisses Titans fans off. Titans.
All right, everyone. We appreciate everybody coming out.
Yeah, I really appreciate you guys for coming out. I know we started late. We're almost 2 hours in. I appreciate you guys for coming through. Me, animated as usual. My guy Matt had this whole thing set up for you guys. He done put a ton of work into this. Appreciate you guys for coming through. And whoever's out there watching and not commenting, we appreciate you guys.
And remember, no matter what, it's always go Colts. Always.
Kate, can I be a quest? What does that mean?
She wants to be a quest.
Yeah, quest. What does that mean? What are you saying there, Kate? What you talking about?
I don't know. We might have to ask Tyler.
Hey, thanks, Tess, for coming through. Appreciate you, man. Have a good night. Catch you tomorrow. Oh, a guest. Absolutely, Kate. You can be a guest.
All right, y'all. We'll see y'all next week after we get this dub tomorrow. All right. Remember, it's always go Colts.
I know me. I try and wear like a different jersey each week.
Hey, and don't forget, enjoy this little animation clip that I made. All right, I worked hard on this week. All right, it took me like 3 days. Couldn't figure out how to do it, and I had to do a lot of YouTube research. So just enjoy it, love it. All right. Go Colts. Oh, yeah. And the reason I'm saying this is because earlier I posted it on the Facebook page and some dude wanted to comment on it and be like, oh, well, you used a clip from
we lost. I saw that guy.
I was so mad. I was like, for one, we didn't lose that game. Two, I was showing Alex. I was so mad. I was like,
I keep telling people that want to complain about the Colts, like, look, if you're going to cry and bitch and moan each and every week, like, hey, we're going to have tough losses. For number one, it's part of being a fan. Everything that we say on here and we talk about, it has nothing to do with the organization. They're not going to listen to me. They're not going to listen to Matt. They're not going to listen to you guys. So, like, just be a fan at the end of the day.
Yep.
And if they don't accept it, go be a fan of another team. Go run to the Bills. Go run to the Chiefs. Whatever you want to do. But yeah. So.
And enjoy the greatest moment of our season so far. I'm sorry. It was 17 seconds left in the game. Alec Pierce, first touchdown. Like, come on. Just enjoy it. All right, everybody have a good night. And go Colts.
Go Colts.
He is going to drop the throw. Fires deep along the right sideline for Alec Pierce.
He's got it. Touchdown! Touchdown! Alec Pierce spikes it into the end zone. Touchdown! INDY! A 32-yard grab over the shoulder snag